Oh my God, what is going on and how did that even happen? Hang on, that's ridiculous. Good morning. Welcome to the Coffee Run Live. We are mixing it up today and going a little bit earlier. So slash later. If you're still up in the States, go you. And if you're up nice and early in Australia, then that's really cool. Good job, or anywhere else in the world. So what I wanted to talk with you about, hey, Georgina, good morning. God, this light's not excellent. Sorry about that. That's what we get for going live early, and it's still almost completely dark out there. We've been for a walk, we've jibber-jabbered about all of the things, and I just kind of thought that I'd go live a little bit earlier today. So normally what I do is I'll come home from our walk, I make another coffee because we've been up early, and I'll start journaling. So I thought that what I'd talk to you about today is a little bit about my process that you can, in terms of my creative process, my writing process, the content creation process, in the hope that it might help you, or that it will help you. So I remember having a conversation in a mentoring group that I was in early last year, and the conversation went around, you've got to develop your own IP. Now, I've heard of this acronym IP thrown around a lot over the years, and it stands for intellectual property. And I was kind of like, well, and I get it in terms of the sense of creating courses and things like that. But I didn't understand it in the way that my mentor was talking about it. And I was like, okay. And then somebody else started talking about it, and it was just like, oh, well, this kind of makes sense. To me, it can sound like this really big kind of corporate word, right? You've got to go and create your own intellectual property. And it can sound a little formal and stiff. To me, it was just like, oh man, I need to do what? And I've always had this massive aversion to being, not always actually, but since the end of 2010, when I decided to give up trying to be professional, to be taken seriously, it was kind of like, oh my God, they're trying to put me into a professional box, and this ain't helping. But developing your own intellectual property, and I'll talk to you about how I think you guys can really do that, how you can use it to develop your thinking, which is another thing that was talked about that I had a massive reaction to. And then also how you can use that to create content. Because I think this is going to help you from a place of you being seen as being different, cutting through the noise, having that sense of originality. Everything about the online world is about you doing something and inspiring some kind of action with your audience, right? Like, that's why we're doing what it is that we're doing. Now, sometimes that action might be to join a workshop that you're running. Sometimes that action might be to buy your latest course that you're promoting. It might be to buy your book. It might be to just engage and comment, or, maybe it's about research, whatever it is, the stuff that you're putting out there. Most of us who want to be seen, who want to be visible, who want to create impact and change in the world, in our worlds and the world, we've got to inspire some type of action and some kind of change. And therefore, we've got to be able to be seen in order for that, that next bit to happen, and then that next bit to happen, and then that next bit to happen. So I remember being challenged last year, and it was deeply challenging, actually, when I wrote Visible, to deepen my thinking. I'm like, well, what the fuck does that even mean? Come on. It sounded like some piece of stupid, if I'm honest, it sounded like some piece of stupid corporate jargon. We're going to deepen your thinking. And I'm just like, I don't really understand. If my mind, it's like, you think about social media, it's actually really not that complicated. It's just do this, do this, do this, do this, and it kind of works. But what when I'm open to learning, right? I'm always open to different thoughts, different thinking, different opinions and stuff like that. And I'm always super, super open to learning. And I was like, okay, so if I was to deepen my thinking about something, It's more around my interpretation of it now, and the way that I can clarify it for you guys is about finding different ways to articulate what it is that you're talking about or what it is that you're teaching. Yeah. So deep in your thinking, creating your own intellectual property is, you know, that we can do it in an easier fashion, and I think, than what this sort of like big picture corporate idea might be. So the way that I've translated it for entrepreneurs, for people like you and I, for small business owners, and even I think this should be taken on by people who are working maybe within an organization and who want to create a powerful brand around themselves, you know, within that, to try and bolster further employment opportunities, to future-proof your career and that kind of thing. So what I would think about is, like, what is that thing that you really want to convey for people? Is it around confidence, right? And then the next step, like, let's say that that's the thing that you want to talk about and really develop positioning around. So when you're creating and you're deepening your thinking and you're creating your own intellectual property, it's important to have like something that you're really passionate about talking about. So it could be confidence, it could be inspiring and motivating people, advocating for change. It might be around, like, one of my girlfriends is making work better. So everything that you're doing is about that. Now, we know that there are different elements within that topic. So let's look at inspiration, for example. We can talk about the like inspiration as a subject matter, but then what creates inspiration? So what this does is it makes you start to think about, okay, well, what's the thing that happens before you feel inspired? And then we've also got physical inspiration, you've got spiritual inspiration, you've got mental inspiration, external inspiration. That should have gone the other way around. And there's different ways that we can start to develop that. And then each of those things, if you're mind mapping it, I reckon that might make it easier. I don't have a piece of paper on hand, really simply. Actually, I do. And I've even got my fat cup, which was a present from a client of mine who thought that I would love it. So I thought that this might help. And this is stuff that you can do if you're really curious about this, like do some homework over the weekend. If you want to do it today, it'll really help. So let's look at mind mapping. We'll start with inspiration. Now, I'm doing this on the fly. I have not prepared this content today. I've actually not ever talked about this, I don't think. Oh gosh, here we go. Make that go away. I'm just going to try and turn this around. Now, I've just mirrored the camera, and it confuses the shit out of me every time I do it. So bear with me. I will do my best to not look like a complete douche. Inspiration. Okay, so if we've got inspiration in the middle of your page, yeah, and then what I would look at is, how about we look at the different types of inspiration first of all. We've got internal and external. Right, so this is how I would do this. So we're making a bit of a mind map around your subject matter, your intellectual property. So we've got internal and external. And then what we would like to do is go, okay, so what are the different types of internal inspiration? So we can have spiritual, mental, physical. I'm going to put, I think that's, well, like, this is your IP. You can develop this, but this is just me kind of thinking on the fly. So I would go like that. So a physical, spiritual, mental, like for the internal stuff, first of all. And then the external, I would have intellectual, because often when we read books, we were like, oh my gosh, yeah, I love how they articulated that. That's completely inspiring. That helps me to be able to go and form my own opinions about this, that, and the other, or no, I don't agree with that. And then that can inspire you, but that's coming from the external world, right? So then we've got other people. We've got, what else? Like, what other things for external things would inspire you? We've got intellectual people. I'm going to put social, actually. And I don't know. You guys can think of something else. I can't see the comments. I don't understand. Hey, Tamara. Good morning. So if we've got this as a little mind map to start with, right? So we've got inspiration, and you put the things that you think, like the two big, maybe like the two big polar opposites around what you think. So it might be about like coffee and then instant versus brewed. I don't know. So what we do then, I'm going to get another color because why the heck not? So if we were to have a look at our little pieces of paper, and we've got physical, like internal inspiration can come from the physical environment. And that's actually true. So we've got movement. We've got surroundings. Right? And I know that that might seem like it's external, but my argument on that, well, actually, my environment and what's around me, I purposefully create it from a place that has me feeling internally inspired, right? So it could maybe cross over into both. We've got the spiritual inspiration. So how do you do that? And I think that's where you've got your beliefs can come from. It's where you can have your values and maybe something else, right, that you think of. And then the mental inspiration, this is where I reckon grit can come in, where resilience can kick in, where I'm just going to put self-motivation, self-talk. Obviously, this mental one is easier for me because I'm just like, pew, pew, pew. So over here in the mental side, we've got grit, resilience, what does that say? Self-motivation, self-talk, right? And then when we're looking at external, and we've got intellectual, to me, we've got books, we've got seminars, we've got podcasts, magazines, that kind of thing, right? And then we've got external people. So these are the people who we think are aspirational, right? We've got the other people, like people might be like, again, like podcasting experts, maybe like the people that you follow on social media, that type of thing. And then, so I'm fleshing all of this out. Oh my God, upside down, Miss Jane. Fleshing all of this out. And then we've got the other external one that I suggest that we put in is social. Let me know that this is making sense, please, guys. So we've got friends. We've got networking. We've got you being out and about. What else? Other social. Oh, I'm going to put dancing. Just because, you know, why the heck not? Thanks, Tamara. Thank God. Okay. Whew. And I will forgive you for not watching The Last Crusade yet. So long as we're rectifying that really quickly. I'm just going to have a quick drink. Okay, we ready? So we've got a mind map on inspiration, right? So the way that I might use this is go, all right, you know, inspiration is super important for you to feel like you can go and put your content out there. Now, inspiration has two ways of kicking in. We've got internal inspiration, and we've got external inspiration. Internal inspiration is self-fueling, right? It comes from within you. And there are three main types of internal inspiration. We've got physical, spiritual, mental. And some of the ways that you can activate this, oh my God, some of the ways that you can activate this is by moving, by really taking a look at what your beliefs and values are, and by managing your self-talk, right? So it's really about making sure that you're programming yourself for success. I would also maybe put in here journaling, actually. I'm just going to add that little puppy in. So, they're the 3 ways. Now, what you would do in that instance then, and this is about, again, developing your thinking, is going, okay, well, what's a story or a concept that you can share that would explain this thinking and the way that you've just talked about that, right? So that might be one overview, like Facebook Live that you do, or an article or something like that. And then the next day you might talk about external inspiration. And you can talk about the 3 big pillars of external motivation. Inspiration. I get motivation and inspiration. I interchange them all the time. Sorry about that. Not sorry, really. It's just, I don't want to confuse you. Now, what you can then do is you could go the next day, hey, Ellie, great to see you. Good morning. So if you're like sitting there and you're kind of stuck for content, right? And you're like, oh my God, what the heck am I going to say? I've got to be original today. I've got to create my own IP. I've got to dip in my thinking. I've got to be able to communicate that with my audience so that they kind of get it. What it enables you to do is go, all right, well, if I'm talking about inspiration is your overarching message, right? Your overarching thing that you want to talk about at different times. Then you can go internal. All right, let's do a whole blog / Facebook Live / post on journaling. You could do a whole one on physical inspiration. You can also then break it down further into your surroundings, into movement. You could break it down. You could do a whole thing on values and beliefs, right? So it starts to give you some structure, essentially, and so form a foundation for you to really be able to develop your own, the way that you articulate your own ideas and why it's really important. Some of the stuff that you could have a look at, and this is a thing that I've really been building the muscle around, particularly in the last 6 months, has been around then going, okay, so is there any data? I'm going to do this in a different color for you. If you're in the States, you'll say data. Is there any data to support it? Oh, this is red. I didn't mean to pick red. I thought I picked up pink. So what data can you share? What stories? Hey, Heidi. Long time no see. I'm so excited to talk to you. What stories can you share? Are there any anecdotes? I'm a really huge fan and have been a huge fan for a long time about telling like metaphors. So we've got, oh my God, this mirror thing. So what data can you share to support your argument around how physical movement creates internal inspiration? Oh my God, it's weird doing this back to front. I'll try and do it that way. Oh my God. So is there any data that you can share? What stories can you share to support it? What anecdotes can you share? What metaphors can you share? You don't have to share all of them all of the time, but it just helps you in order for you to be able to become that or be seen as that expert, right? Which is what we all want to be seen in our industries as someone who knows their stuff. It helps to build trust fast when you're able to clearly articulate what your thinking is, why you think this, and then having some supporting evidence, essentially. Now, I know that might sound all very academic, but it's really interesting. People are looking for, number one, most people are unconsciously looking for reasons to trust you. Yeah. And sometimes if they're sitting there not quite able to join the dots, if you're able to share a story that demonstrates that, hey, Kelly, if you're able to share a story that demonstrates your thinking, then that can help them go, oh yeah, that makes complete sense. I totally get it. So one of the ways that I wrote, or one of the, not the way that I wrote Visible, but part of the process in writing Visible was to break down, you know, all of these sections and these segments and be able to then expand upon them, right? So that's what deepening your thinking means. It means being able to expand upon each concept, because we know a lot, right? You know a lot about your subject matter, and often we accidentally take for granted that people are kind of like, yeah, it's so super simple. Like, to me, there are three things that you need to work on when you're being visible, and that's yourself and establishing your point of difference. The second thing is knowing who your audience is, so you're able to create rapport. And then the third thing is building your presence and positioning around all the platforms that you do. So there's three things that you need to do. I'm just like, you know, I need to write a whole book on that. You know, it's not like really, but you know, apparently there's another book in it, because I've done this whole book plan for the next book that's coming following on from Visible, because I'm just like, oh wow, you know, this makes, like, now that I've got that thinking clear, right? I can then go, all right, how do I break that down further? What other ways, what other stories can I tell? What other things can I think of and come up with? The more I, you know, really kind of hone in on that middle thing, which in this example was inspiration, then it allows you to actually go really big on one topic. And what that does for you in terms of marketing, in terms of content creating, is that it gives you a whole load of different avenues for you to be able to articulate your knowledge, for you to be able to connect and engage. Now, here's the beauty of this, right? If you think about your audience and how amazing they are, your people, I'm just trying to work out which way I want to hold this because I'm back to front and I hate it. You have got, if you get on a thing one day and you're like, oh, you know that you need to create content one day and you're like, oh my God, what the heck am I going to say? I don't know, blah, blah, blah. You can come to your inspiration map, right? So this is a really cool little thing that we've just completely done on the fly that would, you know, inspire you to create content. How fun is that? And you can go, all right, well, I actually don't feel like going and picking up a book and looking for inspiration today. You know, fuck that shit. I don't want to do that. So you can go, all right, I know that one way that I can become inspired is by being physical. What shall I do? I'm going to move. I'm going to go to the gym, right? I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to go and punch a punching bag. You know, what that does is it creates internal inspiration because you're actually moving, you're building momentum, you're doing something, right? So it gives you a little hack for if you're not going, you know, if you're not feeling inspired. That's completely not what I was trying to say, but this is a really great way for you inspiring yourself to create content. How fun is that? Taking that out of it, when you do this for your people, then you could go and like just go, all right, I'm just going to talk about movement today, or I'm going to talk about food today. So Callie, you would talk about food. I got completely distracted by my own content. That's really freaking hilarious. I need to add in here food and nutrition. Now the other side of this, right, if we think about it just, you know, for deepening it for a second, both of these, like all of these could be used resourcefully or unresourcefully, right? So we'll use we can create internal inspiration as we've talked about, and we know that physical is one way of being able to access and create internal inspiration, like the physical thing. And one of those things is around food. So it's getting put inside of you. Now, if you put into your body, if you fuel yourself internally with champagne, then that's probably not as sustainable. Hey, Rosie, great to see you. That's going to potentially, you know, have a negative flow-on effect because you might end up feeling hungover. You might end up feeling fabulous in the moment and create something that's really great, but you might actually feel like you pay for it later. It's like that, like sugar, right? So if you're wanting really powerful and resourceful internal inspiration using the physical arm of your thinking model, then we can go, all right, you know, I'm going to use some sparkling water. I'm going to go and have a smoothie. I'm going to go and have some, I don't know, whatever, like gluten-free toast or something. Or go to your cafe and like go to your favorite cafe and have one of those amazing sugar-free, gluten-free slices with all the berries on it that are just to die for. You know, there's resourceful things and there's unresourceful things that you could look at. So in each of these areas, you could further deepen this down and have resourceful beliefs. I've got texture on my hand. And unresourceful beliefs. We can have resourceful values and unresourceful values. Grit can be both positive and negative, right? If you're using... Sorry, Tamara. I had one the other day. I was coaching Jeremy and Kim, and the cake that, oh my God, it was sugar-free, gluten-free, dairy-free, like free of all the things. And oh my God, it was like a party in my mouth. So grit could be used, back to the subject, both, it could be resourceful and unresourceful. Where it becomes resourceful is like when we're building resilience, right? And sometimes you've just got to dig in and do the thing that you need to do even when you don't really feel like you want to. Where that becomes unresourceful is if you're just being a stubborn little shit and not letting something go, right? You might feel inspired to do it initially and then you're going resourceful, and then it like kind of like the shadow side kind of kicks in. So you can talk about both the positive angle of it and the negative angle of it. And then you could talk into the characteristics of all of that. So I think there's a book in that. Like that would actually be like a whole book plan. Kind of, like not really, but you know, like you could write a whole book about inspiration using these things. These, what have we got? We've got 2 main topics. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 chapters, 6 big chunk chapters there. And then you've got all of these other things that you can talk into. Like that's a whole book. That's a whole 12-month content plan that you can use that is going to really have you, number one, standing out as someone who knows their stuff, because you've got, not only are you sharing your thinking, you've also got the data, the stories, the anecdotes, the metaphors to share why you think the way that you do, right? It gives you inspiration, no matter what your model is, for something that you're going to talk about today. So here's what I want to show you. I've talked before about my content map, and I'm just going to turn my camera around. So today, oh my God, it's mirrored. Hang on. How can I make that? Why is it doing? Oh, I see. Hang on. There we go. So we've got the content map. The first quarter is about confidence. And then we've got month 3 is about knowledge. And you can see in there that what I wanted to talk about this month is your IP, copycat syndrome, questions that people will ask, taking your stuff for granted. So how do I turn this around now? Oh my God. Oh my gosh, there we go. Hope you're not feeling dizzy. That felt a little dizzying. So where I'm going with this is that it gives you a framework for you to work around. So I was originally thinking this morning, I was planning on going live early. I actually had it in my schedule. I'm like, go live early. And I was actually going to talk with you guys about journaling. And I was going to almost do my journaling while talking to you. And I'm just like, it doesn't really feel right this morning. So I had a quick look at my map and I was like, oh, let's talk about IP. And part of that is because I've got a whole load of articles being published at the moment off the back of the book, Visible. I also know that there are a lot of things that get thrown around in the world about what's going to make you stand out. And really, at the end of the day, I see my job, my whole job is to make your lives easier, right? I really want to make your lives easier. I want to make your content creation easier for you. I want to make your visibility efforts easier for you. Like, it's all about me, right? And what I want for you. It's not about what you want for you. And I know that most people want to make a really big freaking impact. They don't just want to be this 15 minutes of fame, flash in the pan, make a few dollars and, la, la, la. I want to try and make this as easy as humanly possible for you. And to me, it's like, okay, well, journaling today doesn't feel like the right thing to talk with you about. It felt like it's got to be about this. And yeah, so that's what this is about. Tamara, stop it. Now I want to ditch my celery juice. Well, while you drink your celery juice, which I've heard is really amazing for your body, I'm going to have a swig of coffee. It's funny because I thought I was watching a replay on my phone and then you said, hey, Tamara. Well, I've been going live a little later on in the day, right? Because I've been going to the gym in the mornings and I've kind of been playing around with my creative process, which is what I wanted to talk to you about. So this helps form the foundation, but my creative process these days, or like the schedule in which my creativeness comes through, is more like we'll go for a walk in the morning, I'll come home, I'm journaling, doing all the things to affirm me, to affirm my clients and all of this type of thing. And then it's like, okay, great. It's pretty much time for me to have a quick shower or go down to do the school run and then come back. And I've usually drafted out the blog for the day. So I'll get that kind of sorted. And then it's like, okay, cool. By that time it's like, shit, it's 11 o'clock. I might have coaching calls and stuff. So, that's why I've been going a little bit later. And just really kind of trusting that the times that I'm going live are the right times for me to go live. Yeah. So it's been a little bit different. I'm 5 kilos down in the last 2 weeks. And so sticking to my celery juice routine for sure. Go you. That is freaking awesome. Congratulations. Really, really awesome news. Well done. So we could use your inspiration model for maintaining that motivation, right? Because that's actually a really cool point. So oftentimes, like on the celery juice thing that we're talking about, so this would be a story and a metaphor, right? I could talk about Tamara and her celery juice cleanse that she's been doing. She's down 5 kilos, but I imagine that to start with, there was a lot of internal inspiration that you were able to draw on. I know for me, I am 99% of the time refined, sugar-free, gluten-free, dairy-free, rah, 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 unless you look at the last 24 hours, and all of this has gone completely out of the freaking window. It's ridiculous. So the thing that I need to come back to is like, I look at external things. It's like, okay, so who have I got around me, like the people or the social, to kind of kick my ass, provide me with that external inspiration / motivation so that I can get back on the wagon, right? I know internally, I know my mental state is better when I'm not doing it because all of that. I know that all of this, like my values might be aligned, but sometimes you've just got to draw on that external inspiration if the internal's not quite cutting it, yeah? No worries, Heidi. That's my pleasure. So that's that, guys. I hope that's helpful. Let me know your ahas, your breakthroughs. Let me know that this is, that this is helpful. We do go deeper into this in the Amplification Project, which is happening on starting whatever date it is. I think it's the 7th of April. I will just go and pop because I didn't, I really should be more efficient, but I didn't really know where this was going to go today. You know how sometimes I didn't plan today, like I literally made that up on the spot. What we were talking about, I hadn't even thought about it. So you know how sometimes you just kind of like do stuff and then things come out of you and it's like, oh, well, this sort of makes sense. So we're going in the amplification project starting on the 7th of April, which is all about, it's really a 21-day kind of boot camp where we definitely develop your thinking. We definitely get really clear on your point of difference and your positioning, and it's about amplifying you out into the whole entire universe, because, or the multiverse, you know, because why the heck would we not do that? But doing it in a way that feels really great for you. And then every day, like literally every day, either via a video like this, like a live video, or a text, or it might be a journal prompt, or whatever it is that we're doing, it's like, right, this is what you need to do today. Off you go do it, because, you know, the world is waiting for you to show up. Your audience is waiting for you to show up. Your audience is waiting for you to talk to them in a way that makes sense. So it's not just about, like, in terms of your positioning, it's like it's really super important for you to be able to share your stuff and share your reasons why you think the way that you do, and share your originality and everything else like that. But it's also important to share those other elements of you that aren't necessarily structured, right? This is more, it's more of a framework that you can work within in order to really build your positioning. And that's what amplification is all about, right? It's about growing your positioning, growing your visibility, and just owning your freaking rock starness is my thing around that. All right, Georgina, going to message you about the program later. Yay, bam. This would be great for you, actually, given the competitive nature of what you do. Absolutely. It'd be absolutely freaking awesome. All right, guys, have an amazing day. I don't want to bang on that anymore. I've got to go and wake up my daughter because she's still asleep. And we've got to go, oh my God, people stop messaging me. We've got to go and do the school run. So the joys of being a creative, the joys of being an entrepreneur, the joys of being a mom, and putting all out a wife and a friend and a daughter, and, you know, all of the stuff, it all just kind of, I don't know, it's got to all blend together, right? Otherwise, why the heck do we even do all of this? Kelly, thank you, Mark, and I've enjoyed listening. You're welcome. Hey, Mark, great to meet you. I hope Buddy and Ruby enjoyed it as well. These little cutie pies. All right, guys, take care. Have an amazing day. Rock on. Go help some people, get yourself out there, get visible, and have a whole shit ton of fun doing it. Can't wait to talk to you tomorrow.